Well, I remember when I was an undergrad, basically you'd go to class and you'd write down what the professor wrote on the board as fast as you could. And as far as really understanding things, a lot of that did not happen during class. That was really up to you after class. You would review your notes and basically try to figure out what was going on in class. For a couple of semesters, I tried something called JIT, Just-in-Time Teaching. You give the students a reading assignment, and then on the web, you put a few questions that relate to that reading assignment. And they have to answer these questions on the web, let's say before, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, before class or something like that. And let's say some of the questions will directly relate with the reading. So in other words, in order to answer the questions correctly, you have to do the reading. Another question had something like, was there anything in the reading that was totally confusing to you? Now that was good because, well, supposedly it motivated them to come prepared, which is a wonderful thing. A second thing, it gave me an idea of what was confusing to them. So I did that for a while. It took a lot of time. And then I surveyed the students after, at the end of the semester, and unfortunately, it didn't seem like it motivated very many people to do the reading. They just would answer the questions. Now here, we're actually trying to get the students to learn something in class. What a concept. And so they're actually thinking about what we're discussing. They're thinking about it. That's what's so great about the concept questions. They have to think. What that is, I'll briefly give a mini lecture, let's say 5, 10, 15 minutes, it depends, and on one particular topic, and then I'll put a multiple choice question on the PowerPoint slide, which deals with that topic. And so the students will read the question and they'll have to make a decision. So they have to make a decision. And so after a minute or so, I'll ask them to vote. Then I look around, and if everybody has it right, we'll just move on. If there are a fair number of students that answer the question incorrectly, then I have the students talk to each other. And I don't just have them talk to each other. What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to act like arrogant people, and they're supposed to convince their neighbors that they are right. So everybody's trying to convince the other person that they're right. And so I let them argue for a few minutes, and then we vote again. And generally speaking, by the end of the second vote, most people, pretty much everybody has it. If they still are confused, then I discuss it. We also do something called interactive lecture demo. So instead of just doing an ordinary demonstration, we do it in an interactive way. So first I describe the demo, what is exactly what I'm going to do, and then I have them write on a piece of paper what they expect to be the result. And so they do that on their own, and then they turn to their next door neighbors and they discuss it as in small groups what's going to happen. And then by that time, they're all excited. They want to know what's going to happen. And then I do the demonstration, and then we discuss it. We also do problem solving in class, group work. So they'll just gather together into small groups, and they'll just actually work out short problems. And so hopefully when they get out of the classroom, they've learned something. They've actually learned something. Now obviously they still have to study it, but they've learned something. Another thing that's nice about the concept questions, it gives me a feel for how much they've understood. I remember a few years ago I gave this, what I thought was an incredibly clear, fantastic lecture on something called torque. I gave examples. You couldn't get any clearer. And then I put a concept question on the PowerPoint, and most students were totally lost. I couldn't believe it. But that was wonderful, because I realized, in fact, I hadn't done such a great job. And so not only does it help the students learn, but it helps me understand what they're getting, what they're not getting, so I can try a different approach. What do you do in a boring lecture? Right? Well, when you're constantly engaged, you stay awake. You pay attention. And so you have to learn more than just a everyday lecture.